Coming to you live from deep within an icy, radioactive wasteland, we are the survivors of the alt-right Keck apocalypse. The few, the brave, the bitchy, once more wading into battle against the froggy lobster zombie hordes with Chris Williamson doesn't get feminism number 5.
5. Last one, though.
Five.
Last one.
5.
5.
Because we accidentally did 2 last
Because we
time.
did 2 yesterday, and I don't want to confuse
Alright.
people on the number, so
And
I changed the
Oh.
title of the backup.
Of the
to
second
4.
one.
My doggo says hello. I don't know if you guys heard him during that.
Who?
Yeah, well,
He had he borked. He said hello. So
Mrs. Wu will probably also. Oh, and there's
let
Maraca.
me think. This would be number 194, right?
I should double check. I don't remember. Yeah,
I think it's
194.
Brian's
Fucking this spreadsheet right now.
194.
Jeez.
I know.
194. So here we are. We're
Alright.
trying a new format. You can see myself and Brian. But you can't see Karen because if we put Karen on video, we wouldn't be able to show you her icon with its mouth moving. So.
When it talks when I talk, I feel like God. But but no, and you also wouldn't see me sitting here with a bowl right next to me just in case I need to puke. So
Ugh. Yeah, we don't want to see that.
yeah, well, I mean, I guess I could turn off my camera when I feel it coming on, but you know,
I feel like
sometimes the gagging is like contagious. Like I see somebody start to gag, and I'm like, oh God, yeah. Okay, stop.
Okay.
Oh my God.
all
Let's
right.
do the things.
Well, Speaking of gagging.
You ever hear that at 5 a.m.
yes, and
Yeah.
in your bedroom?
well, I know you two don't have cats, but
Oh no, this is a dog sound. Yeah, and they make and the really horrible thing is when dogs do this, well, the whole time they're making that noise, they're smiling. Like their lips are turned up at the corners. And they're just like they're looking, it's like
evolutionarily, like that's
no,
what-
it's like this terrified smile. They're like, hello, stranger. Hello, rapist. I don't want you to hurt me. Something's happening on my insides and I really don't like it. But it's going to happen right where you live and you're going to have to clean it up. That's what dogs are thinking when they're making that noise. And you're just making a race for the leash and the door. Like, get them outside onto the lawn.
Okay, well, who knew we were going to start with that, right?
Yeah, no, I could at any moment be running for the bathroom. It's just a stomach bug. Or food poisoning or something.
Doesn't encourage any gagging.
I don't think so. I don't get nauseated by feminists. They just make me angry.
See if I can change this so it's a little bit brighter, a little less taupe.
You're fine. You look fine. I'm looking right at you.
Awesome.
You look fine.
I'm glad. A little self-conscious about my teeth because they come on really in this light. They don't look great. Need to go to the dentist and get some polishing done or something. All right, let's start.
All right, let me share my screen. I forgot.
Yes, let's do this.
I gotta share my screen, so I might have to do some rearranging here.
Oh wait, I do want to remind everyone we are finishing up our monthly fundraiser. We have 400 and let me just double check.
I can't do that.
I'm gonna do some thank yous before we start as well, I think. Let's see where we're at. No, we don't have anything through today, so we're still at about 480 left to go. If you would like to help us out, 475. If you'd like to help us out, you can do so at feedthebadger.com/support. We only have about 4 hours left to get that 475. So if you got $50 burning a hole in your pocket, I know it's the holiday season, so maybe.
Well, my kids are getting coal, but coal is actually pretty pricey these days. So if I have to throw in $100 just to get you guys over the top, I'm gonna be mad.
Okay,
Because
well,
then somebody's not getting any coal in their stocking.
They're not even gonna get coal. Don't make it so that Karen's children are deprived of their coal. You know what I was watching one of those like Ozarks. Let's go to the, I think it was the Ozarks. Let's go to like these haulers up in deepest darkest Americana. And correct me. I know I what I'm saying is probably cringing because I'm just a Canadian. I don't know anything. But anyway, and they were talking about mining in, I think it was like West Virginia.
Yeah.
And the guy was talking about, the mining industry is booming because of all of these electric cars. So we've been just strip mining mountains for coal.
Yeah, no. Just digging up
so
coal, putting it in power plants, charging the electrical grid, and charging up those EVs.
Mm-hmm. It's an excellent system for reducing something.
Yeah, reducing the impression.
Reducing the existence of mountains in the West Virginia landscape.
And the reduction of guilt in stupid liberals in big blue cities.
Ugh. Well, God
yeah,
knows.
No, I like anybody with any kind of engineering experience or scientific knowledge knows that every time you convert energy from one form to another, or even from electricity to electricity. So even if you are running an electrical current along an uninterrupted line, okay, from the time it starts to the time it ends, it will be weaker at the end of the line.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is just how it goes. And if you're charging your cordless drill, right, it's sucking more electricity out of the wall than it will be able to output from the battery. That is just how it is. Okay. I agree that hybrid vehicles are a great idea. Hybrid vehicles are an excellent idea because you have a big battery, you have a gas tank, and when you're using gas, the alternator is supercharging this giant battery. So when you don't need the torque, when you don't need the horsepower, when you're just parking or like cruising, at 30 miles an hour in a residential area, you can run on the battery. You don't need to charge that battery except through the passive means of an alternator that funnels the energy from the gas engine.
Let's just conclude this.
I'm just saying.
Electrical vehicles, don't strip mine West Virginia. All right, I can see Bryan entering a state of quiet zen, waiting for us to actually get back on topic. So let's just start the video. We can get on another tangent. I know what you're just saying, Karen.
It's just upsetting how stupid people are.
Yes, it is truly upsetting how stupid people are. So let's get into more of it on topic.
All right, I'm going to play some of the video now.
Of where she wasn't going to get out over her skis with regards to this. And I was like, that's like I wish that she'd just bro science her way through stuff because it's funny. But what she did was she decided, I'm going to hold myself within this sort of, within my realm of expertise. And I was like, that's a pretty good indication of somebody that's acting in good faith with a lot of and trying to be really, really accurate with what they say. Since she's released it, she has been slammed online, absolutely slammed. And what I've seen...
I like his laugh because he's basically saying, of course she was.
Yeah, no, predictable. Like...
It doesn't matter.
She was very careful and like measured and like in good faith and everything, and she was still slammed for it. He's
to jump to any conclusions, and she was just like, I'm not saying why. I'm just saying this is what is.
I'm gonna be the Watson here. This is the female researcher. Don't know her name.
The female researcher who published a bunch of stats on outcomes of from fatherlessness. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know why they do this? Because they know that this data debunks their theories.
Well, you know what else they know? Okay, and this is something that, oh God, there was this like sort of a conservative feminist, I forget what her name was, but her and Bettina Arndt did a talk years ago on fatherlessness and the outcomes. And what they were asked was from the audience, it was an audience question, like, okay, do all fatherless children have these problems, right? These negative outcomes, right? And they were like, no. Children whose fathers died don't appear to have these. Right? And I'm like, well, that seems kind of weird, right? But then I thought about it, and I'm like, okay, well, what's the difference? What's the difference in quality of life and upbringing between a child whose father died overseas fighting in Afghanistan, or who died of cancer or whatever, right? The mother misses the dad as much as the child does. Right? The mother, if she shit talks the dad at all, it's like, I'm so mad at him for dying. And I know he didn't have any choice, but it's still, it still makes me angry, right? Okay. Which is something that the child is also feeling. Lost his dad. He's going through the anger phase. Okay. She's not shit talking men. She's like, oh, how I wish I had your father here. Right? And for boys who lose their dads, right? And there's no dad out there that mom is keeping away from you, or who has abandoned the family, right? Who either mom is like, no, I'm poisoning you against him, or he's like, no, I don't want anything to do with this. There's no dad out there to be mad at in that way, to feel abandoned by, because he died. He died in a car crash or something. Right? So it's like, okay. And probably because the father died when the parents were together, they're probably living in a neighborhood full of 2-parent homes and kids with 2 parents. So there's probably a bunch of...
Granddad is in the picture. Uncles are in the picture.
Yeah, and neighbors, best friend's dad probably, willing to take him under the wing, right? And, and...
this is the thing. Like, when they talk about non-negative outcomes with fatherlessness, I wonder how much those outcomes are less because of the situation the mother has put the child in being not that bad, and how much it is because the mom has a dad, the mom has brothers, and so the boy still has relationships with men that can't necessarily be as easily destroyed by the mother. So it's not a situation where the mother is doing anything good. It's that she has severely damaged her child, but the men in her life can take up some of the slack.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No. And the thing with, when you have these like men deserts, as they call them in the UK, right? Where it's like there's not a single male over the age of maybe 23 for like square miles of a neighborhood. What you have is a bunch of young adolescent boys, right? Well, you have a bunch of primary school boys who are growing up in a matriarchy. They're surrounded by adult women. That's not a male role model. And you literally have the same feminists who say that women in college need to be able to see that women can be professors, that women can be engineers. They need to see it in order to think that they can be it, right? Okay, well, what do you think an elementary school entirely populated by female teachers is doing for 6-year-old boys. Are you expecting, like, and I don't see why, because I gave this example of my younger son, right, who's, I think it was grade 3, his first male teacher. And he thrived. He thrived under that male teacher. He was eager to learn. The teacher had control of the class. He looked up to the teacher, all of that. And I said, like, he did really good that year, Mm-hmm. And she's like, well, he should be able to see a female teacher as a role model. Oh. And I'm like, you're the same fucking bitch complaining that a college-aged fucking woman, a 22-year-old woman, can't see a male professor as a role model, or a male scientist as a role model, or a male engineer.
Not just because it was a role model, but because the teacher had a particularly good way of teaching based on the fact that he was a man.
Well, yeah, that too.
Okay, but
he really did have a
takeaway. The
different
takeaway
style
of all of this is that Bryan is laughing because he knows exactly what this woman is experiencing. She's bringing up all of the things that we're bringing up here now. And the feminists, what's the response? To destroy it.
Yeah,
like Murray Strauss.
Burn it.
Murray Strauss, who found out, like, it's undeniable that there's symmetry in domestic violence. Women are just as violent. They're just not as effective with their violence. And incidentally, one of the things, like the death rate, could be just that men could sustain more damage before they die, because the use of lethal violence or potentially lethal violence is almost equal between men and women. It's just that when you shoot a man, he's more likely to have enough blood to make it to the emergency room. But anyway, Murray Strauss found that there is reciprocal domestic violence. I believe he was originally a feminist until the feminists came after him with pitchforks and torches.
Oh yeah.
And attempted to, shove them up his ass. Like,
they were just like, no.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, like, the worst thing that you can do to a feminist is present contraindicating data.
Mm-hmm. And even though they don't
hard
believe it is
data,
they refuse to admit that this data invalidates their theory, and yet they attempt to destroy it constantly. This is what's freaking hilarious. I was in a long discussion on Twitter.
Burn it with fire.
Burn it, yeah. And I told a feminist, all right, and this is how I use the whole falsified. How do you falsify your belief that men in power equals women oppressed? Okay, this is your assertion that there's a causal relationship between men in power and women being oppressed, allegedly. How do you falsify that? I'm not saying that it's false. I'm saying how you falsify that. That is a basic element of science, of doing science versus doing religion, that your statements are falsifiable. Okay? If you don't have falsifiable statements, that's religion or woo or superstition. And, or philosophy, okay? And I went back and forth. She insisted that saying that she has to make that statement falsifiable means that it's proven that it's false. And she basically said, I can't falsify that statement because there's no way it's false. I'm like, well, that's not science. Any causal relationship in science has to be falsifiable and can't be accepted as scientific until you've made the effort to prove it wrong. So
does fire need oxygen?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
How would you falsify that? You would try to start a fire outside the presence of oxygen.
Exactly.
That's how you would make it falsifiable.
Yes. And she just refused to engage with that. But what's really funny is even though feminists refuse to engage with science by making their allegations and their causal relationships falsifiable, telling other people and attempting to prove that they're not falsifiable by proving that they, like, what you do is you say, well, this is how I falsify this statement. This is what the steps I need to take to attempt to falsify my assertion. And then you take them. And if you can't, then you have evidence that it is a strong assertion. Okay? They refuse to do that. It means that feminism does not occupy a space even in any relation to science. But regardless, what's interesting to me is even though they refuse to tell us all how to falsify feminism, they still attack the very evidence that would. Do you see what I'm getting at? They know.
Yeah, no.
They know
they
this
know.
falsifies it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, they really don't want anybody to know about any of this. And they will go after anyone who actually disseminates it, particularly people who are feminists or who are women.
Mm-hmm.
I think, like, the feminists leave me alone now because they know they're not going to fucking get anything useful out of me.
Okay, let's watch a little bit more, though. Let's see if we're correct in what Bryan is giggling about.
Although I don't think that this is going to happen to her. I've seen somebody who is probably on a political compass test center-left, certainly somebody who wrote a book to try and reduce inequality between class groups, right? This is exactly exacerbating the precise inequality that we don't want to have happen, and so on and so forth. And it was written, as far as I can see, with a good amount of compassion. But I'm seeing the exact mechanism by which many people become radicalized to one side or another side of some sort of aisle because they think, well, I mean, if I guess the only people that are ever going to listen to me about the woes that I have, about the justified or sometimes unjustified antipathy or self-pity that I've got, well, I'm going to go with the group that accepts me. I'm not going to keep on, trying to work. Here's 98% of my entire world going toward you, group that says that you despise me and I'm an entitled moron incel or something like that.
Rapist.
No, you're not just an entitled incel, you're a rapist.
Yeah, exactly. You're the most horrible thing that society can conceive of. Sorry.
Yeah, no, rape is worse than death. Don't you know?
Yep. Okay.
That's why women all commit suicide when they're about to be raped.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
That's why rapists only get to rape corpses. Okay. You heard it here.
Well, that's why rapists who kill their victims before they rape them, they get clemency in court in sentencing. They get like it's a mitigating factor, not an aggravating factor.
Really?
Yeah, no. If you didn't you know that, Allison? If a rapist beats his victim to death and then rapes her, he doesn't get as long a sentence as the man who rapes the woman and lets her live. Yeah, no, that's not how it works. Everybody knows that rape is not the worst thing ever.
It's just the most useful thing ever. Okay, let's keep going.
It's the most politically useful, yeah.
Politically useful weapon.
Rapist.
So I'm a rapist for like a rapist in his heart, just like straight out of the New Testament.
Original sin. So yeah, just my point being that, I see here, especially the antipathy, it creates this ever escalating cycle, right? That spins up and up and up, and people become more virulent in their distaste and their lack of ability to see the other side's issue. And this is how you have, two groups of people largely just talking past each other.
Oh, this is ridiculous, Chris. You have one group of people that is absolutely one. You see a couple. One member of the couple is absolutely beating the shit out of the other one. And that member of the couple is able to define how the other one is seen in the greater world. They're able to enact anything. They're able to say anything to them and physically aggress against them. And then the one other half of the couple occasionally, grumbles about it. That's what you're actually seeing. And you're saying, it's a dynamic. Good.
Yeah,
Lord.
no, it's a dynamic.
Control media. They control academia. They control government. They control a whole host of incredibly fraudulent charity organizations that exist solely to give their board members gigantic pay packets. They control all of this. They have a complete lockdown on the narrative when you look at anything that has a paper trail attached to it. So anything with a significant budget, they have a lockdown. What do the incels have? Forums and some lunatics.
Yeah, Wizard Chan. Yeah,
who were probably are not doing. They're not being aggressive. They're not being violent because they're incels. They're aggressive and violent because they probably have been abused and they have cognitive malfunctions that lead them to low impulse control. And also they're like the Alec Manassian thing. What was the precipitating factor? He lost his job. Okay? And then he was spouting
like the one thing, the only thing that made his life worth living. Yeah.
Yes, he lost his job and he lost it. Okay, that was what happened there. It had nothing. These here's the thing. People who kill, men who kill, don't understand why they do it. If they did, they wouldn't kill. So when they yap, when they flap their gums, that's the least likely thing to be their motivation. They're just latching on to something that'll give them attention. Don't you get that? All right, that's why, what was it? Ted Bundy talked about pornography, so all the feminists would be like,
"Oh no, he just talked about pornography because he thought that was gonna get him a call from the governor."
Yes, that just do this to get attention. They latch on to the most sensational thing, but they're absolutely deluded about their own motives. I guarantee that the motives of men who kill are two: one, they've been severely abused; two, they have cognitive deficits. That's it.
Oh, you want to know about Ted Bundy? Apparently, his mother was actually his sister through his childhood. Like it's really freaking weird. His entire situation was just like, my mom had me out of wedlock. I was adopted by my grandparents. Then I was given to who I told all my life was my sister, but she was really my mom. Then she married some guy who like hated me. And, but at the time, it was said that like there was no history of family trauma or abuse or anything like that, in his past. You look at Edmund Kemper. Okay, Edmund Kemper, the guy who was in the, I think it was a Netflix series or an HBO series called Mindhunter, right? About the behavioral science unit, the origins of the behavioral science unit at the FBI, where it was basically where the term serial killer was coined. And Edmund Kemper was their first case study. And, what was his situation? He was extremely tall, very overweight, unattractive, had very poor eyesight, wore Coke bottle glasses, and his mother raised him alone and berated him. It was a case of selective child neglect and targeted child abuse. When a parent singles out one of their several children, right, for neglect or abuse, right? I just hate this one child, and I'm going to treat this one child very poorly. So it's not a matter of she just couldn't manage it, she just couldn't handle it, she just wasn't able to cope with the burdens of being a mom. No, she took very good care of his sister and treated him like crap. And one of the things that the two agents who interviewed him to figure out like what makes a serial killer, right? Well, one of the things Kemper said to them was, it's a horrible thing when a mother denigrates her own son.
Yeah.
And he killed a bunch of girls, young women, and then he killed his mother's friend and his mother. Right? It's like, well, there was probably something wrong with him from the get-go, right? But maybe it wouldn't have gone that way if she hadn't singled him out for abuse and disdain and
And I can just hear,
I'm ashamed of you.
You're blaming women for men's violence. And I'm like, yes, I am. What are you going to do?
Well, not every time, but there are times when it's applicable.
Yeah, but here's the thing. You got to take away that weapon. It's like, yeah, I'm blaming women.
Uh-huh.
Oh, wow. I didn't spontaneously combust and the world didn't turn inside out. Yes, women are to blame for things. Well, first of all, we're just blaming this one woman as a contributing factor.
No.
But the thing is that this is what they do. They say, you're blaming this one woman. That means you're blaming all women. Okay.
Yeah, but we're not this one woman. Well, how did she get away with it? How did she get away with abusing her son all through his childhood?
Well, yeah.
Like, because she was a woman.
Yeah,
women aren't abusers.
But what I'm ultimately saying is that, well, somebody's told me that I can't do something, and I'm going to do it.
Well, welcome to the club, Allison.
Exactly. Good. That's a good response. All right. So I just want to remind everyone we are doing our monthly fundraiser. Sorry about this, Bryan. I can see you there waiting patiently to be of service.
He's probably reading like the Epic of Gilgamesh or Macbeth or something.
Yeah, or Beowulf. Or the Niflheimsfjord, whatever that opera.
No, I'm doing one more than that. I'm reading the chat.
You're reading the chat? Oh, gosh.
Yeah, live chat.
Oh, no.
Oh, my God. That's the worst in Old English. Or Old Norse.
Your brain will break.
Oh, my God. Okay, so I just want to remind everyone we are doing the monthly fundraiser, and I do need to really compel or request that you guys help out because we have that one little bit left. We're really close, $475. If somebody could just even put $5 in there, that'd be really appreciated. So I feel like we're making some kind of progress. So
I heard you say compel.
3 hours. Compel. Yes, I will compel you with my hypnotic rays.
No, you need a latex cat suit.
Oh God. Oh
yeah, God. No, do it.
Nobody wants to see me in a latex
promise
cat suit.
That you'll consider putting on a latex cat suit. Yeah?
I don't think there's enough latex.
What? You're not heavy.
I'm sort of heavy. I'm broad. I'm dwarf shaped.
Like
actually, Allison, it's more like a gnome. You have a gnome shape.
Yes, I'm a gnome shape.
Yeah, okay, I'm getting there. So
any thank yous?
You're growing shorter, Karen. How's that possible?
No.
Sorry.
You're becoming shorter. Like that's the gnome shape. It's shortness.
No, your spine compresses. I used to be 5'8.5". Now I'm 5'7".
Ooh, maybe you need a chiropractor. Like you just pull you out like an accordion, boom, and then you'd be good.
Or I need one of those things that Batman uses to hang upside down.
Oh, that's pretty crazy.
I could just hang upside down while I sleep.
All right. Okay. So, nobody has gone yet. Somebody just put $5 in there. So we're moving somewhere, please. So feedthebadger.com/support. I don't know. Do we have something that can we do the wailing feminists?
They want my children to not even get coal.
Yeah, you want Karen's children to not even get coal.
I got like just other voice sounds right now. So
okay, well let's do a little bit more then.
All right, let's play some more of the video.
Yeah, I mean, I often think about what Scott Alexander calls the gray tribe, and this is which he admits it's still a tribe, but it's a tribe with different norms and better norms that's trying to not actually fall into being either the blue tribe or the red tribe, as we call them confusingly here in the U.S. So with every other country in the world, red equals left, but somehow in the U.S., red equals right.
You got it the wrong way around.
Yes, and then blue, I don't know what
it's like the side of the road that you drive on. You got it the wrong way around.
Yes, but I think like we're at least close to the only country that has this color scheme. But
yeah.
But anyway, So that makes quite a lot of sense. I mean, the thing we're mentioning then, the Scott Aronson reaction to this was just to write a piece the Scott Alexander reaction was to write a piece standing up for Scott Aronson and saying, yes, like there is this group of shy male nerds who want to talk to women. They're not very good at it. Doesn't mean that they have any horrible any
nefarious intentions.
Like they're usually very nice people. It's just that they don't really know how to talk to women, and the only way to learn is to try it and not be very good at it at first. So can't you go and cut them some slack? Which I think is a totally reasonable point.
You had an idea.
Take women being held to a standard of responsibility. That's not reasonable in any sense.
No, it's really not.
See, the world needs to be what we need to do is make it so that women are not expected to be held to any standard, and that would be the ideal utopian world.
Yeah, the weirdest thing is the female friends that I have tend to be like really hyper responsible. I have a friend, okay? She just found out she's got some growths on one of her kidneys. And she's angry because her boyfriend found out she was at the hospital because she had the whole reason they found that these growths was because she had a kidney infection and she had to go in for IV antibiotics for 3 days running. And her boyfriend found out and showed up at the hospital and started asking her questions. And then he stayed the night 3 nights in a row and cooked and did dishes for her and looked after her while she was sick. And she's like, I think I need to break up with him. And I'm like, are you fucking insane? She's like, I don't like feeling dependent on other people. I feel like he's trying to like get me, but she was kicked out of her house by her parents when she was 15. She's been living on her own, self-supporting since she was 15. Dropped out of school, got 2 jobs. And it's like, and she just can't let anybody take care of her. And I'm like, well, I identify with that, but I may be 53, you're 37, and I am ready to let myself be taken care of sometimes.
Yeah.
Maybe you should open the door to that, right?
I honestly, that's, I think at some point you can take that a little too far.
Yes, you can. And this is why I think I have related to the men's experience, because I have always felt like a massive obligation to always be productive, never be a burden, always be self-sustaining and sustain others.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And nobody's holding me to that standard except myself. I can't even imagine what it would be like if there were other people who were going to shame me for falling short of that. Nobody's going to shame my friend or me for being unable to carry the weight of everybody. Right? But they will do it to the men in our lives. And so that was part of what really kind of pulled me into looking at the male perspective, because I'm like, I opted in, and I'm not actually forced into it. I opted in. I volunteered. I'm a volunteer, not a draftee, right? So as a volunteer service member in that same vein, I look at the draftees and I'm like, oh, fuck. Sucks to be you, especially if it doesn't suit your character or your personality or your capabilities, right? It just really, really sucks. And then, like, if I give up and I just say I want to be taken care of and all of that, I won't be shamed. You do the same? Oh, no, it's fucking Shamesville. Welcome to Shamesville, population.
Language.
What?
I think he's just trolling at this point. I think he's.
I said,
trolling.
welcome to Shamesville, population U.
He's just. He's being. He's.
No, I thought
trolling.
you let out a cuss earlier. I'm a little late.
Oh, I might have.
Yeah.
I might have, but you know.
All right. So we did
okay.
get.
Do you want me to cuss?
Because I can cuss. $5 through. We got someone who put $5 through. So we got.
Oh, that's nice.
Is that a super chow?
Kenneth S. No, it was actually it actually went to the fundraiser. Kenneth S. pushed $5 through. So thank you, Kenneth, for responding to my cry of help. And now we just need another $5, I think. No, 80.
Oh, we're super close. I did get a super chow from a Norwegian for $5, and he says justice for Brian's mustache. I assume you're talking about Bryan Caplan's. I shaved mine this morning because it's
yours.
Officially no longer Movember. So, and
yeah, no.
I don't know if you've ever had a mustache before, but if it gets really bushy, it's like it gets in your mouth and it's really annoying. So you have to I have to shave it after a while.
Oh, you had a Lanny.
It was turning into a Sam Elliott, it was
a Lanny McDonald.
Yeah.
Okay, so somebody else also put through $5 or 25 or 50.
Nice.
And let's get this finished. Well, no, I'm saying please do.
Oh, well,
not yet.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that'd be great.
That'd be
but
great.
Also nice.
We're pretty close. We're pretty.
Somebody, anybody
help us. Okay, feedthebadger.com/support. And again, if you do want to send us a message, it's feedthebadger.com/justthetip.
And if you ever want to see Allison in a latex cat suit, you'll fork over right now.
Why?
That's not a promise. I'm just saying, if you ever wanted to see that, you better give her some incentive. She needs convincing.
I would have to. Okay.
All right. Play more of the video.
Let's play.
She's not going to do it. But
so the next section.
She might give you a gift of her badger.
So that's the end of the is feminism equal to the manosphere? Are you guys listening to me or?
No, that's the end of the section. Yes.
Of that section. So to sum up, Bryan Caplan is arguing that there are, two sides you could call like extremes, but the reality is that there's one side that's created the other side. And of course, Chris Williamson.
Well, and the other side isn't extreme. It's like, is it just please okay? Can we talk to women?
Exactly. It's not. That's what I'm saying. It's not extreme at all. But Chris Williamson is dodging, and he's like, "Oh, that sounds like a crazy game of ping pong that I don't want any part of, and so I'm just gonna stand over here and in the center, and just judge both sides. Like, guys, can we just stop fighting? Like, man, you're both just so." Can we go back to when men were just being beaten over the head by every institution in the world, by these women or these people? It's not just women, it's women and the simps that serve them. Can we just go back to that and just stop complaining? Because that's essentially what we're doing right now. When you say both sides, you're basically saying, can we just go back to before I had to hear about this? And it was that people were just silently suffering and killing themselves in the background, in the alley, so I don't have to hear about it because this is annoying me.
Well, this
is why I don't like centrists, by the way. This is why. But go ahead.
It's kind of like the amicable versus the hostile divorce.
Yeah.
Right? It only takes one combative person to make a divorce hostile. Right? It requires two amicable people to make a divorce amicable, right? You don't like, it's not like a both sides thing when there's a hostile divorce, when there's a particularly contentious divorce. You can have one perfectly reasonable person who's willing to concede, and be fair on believe me, I lived this, concede and be fair on every single issue. Right? And one side that is determined to make problems, and there will be problems. And it's like that is literally what they're saying is you have two sides here. You have women who have basically been bashing men for decades, right? And you have men complaining about being bashed, and it's the men. Ooh, it's the exact equivalent on both sides.
Guys, stop it. Stop fighting back when the bully beats you up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Also, I'd like to point out that the both sides just seems to end up just blaming men.
Still blaming men. Yes.
Feminism has turned the whole situation into a gigantic flaming mess, and men are saying, "Well, look, this is," and they did this, and then they say, "Well, why are you increasing the problem?" And that's what's really, really irritating is you got feminists running around with flamethrowers, setting things afire. You got the men's rights movement being like, they're doing that. You see that, right? And they're like, well, why can't you get along?
Yeah, why can't you stop pointing that out?
You're just as bad. You're blaming them for setting fires.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, we're not just as bad. You know what would just be just as bad? Is if the majority of the men's issues movements, because I want to include all of the people who don't call themselves men's rights activists, either because they don't feel like they activate enough to justify the label, or because they're more interested in just promoting the issues, or because they just don't like the label, but they're still pushing forward on the men's issue side. If there was a critical mass of us that had an unfalsifiable belief that women rule all, like a completely unfalsifiable belief, not just gynocentrism as in benefit accrues to women, but also that women completely control everything. There's nothing that men can do. They are completely a response to women. All right. There's no back and forth. They're powerless. There's no back and forth. And it was completely unfalsifiable. So the people who assert this have no way of saying, well, I mean, you could just show that fire can be burning without oxygen. No, it was an unfalsifiable, almost religious belief system. Okay. There's nobody there. There was nobody on the other side like that. Like, I mean, maybe the closest you could come to, I think, and that is the red pillars who think that women can't be morally responsible. I mean, there's a whole bunch of Christian women throughout history that seems to defy that, but whatever. Women can't be morally responsible, right?
No, I think they can when they're forced to.
Well, that's true about everybody. Why do you think we have the legend of Gilgamesh? Now, but my point is this, or an additional point. What is the two sides, really? Like, are the two sides men and women? Are the two sides feminism and the non-existent masculinism? Okay, because nobody on the men's issue side is pushing this idea of original sin for women.
Nope.
At least not consistently. We don't all ascribe to the masculinist theory that everything is ruled by women to their own benefit. I mean, I'm sure there's some people who do, but a lot of us are either just interested in ameliorating the issues as they are, interested in legal equality, or interested in recognizing that this is a dynamic that's hurting everybody. But the answer is not men are to blame. Okay, the solution is not to blame men more. Okay, so there's a wide variety. So it's not like there's two sides. But here's the other thing that I want to point out to the both sides, the centrists. I think the best way to go would be to bring everybody to the table. Let the feminists have their say, but let it be no greater than the masculinists who believe that women oppress men and hate them throughout all of history, and that's how women have been defined. Let them have their say.
Yep.
And then let us have our say. Why don't we just deal with these issues? Why don't we stop blaming men? It's not working. And then let everybody else have their say, and let's have a discussion. Let's have a genuine discussion. Instead of using the aggression of feminists and then turning around and saying, no, it's the people who are bringing up men's issues that are making them angry. Why'd you make her punch you, dude? Like, No.
Yeah.
Let's bring everybody to the table, give everybody an equal voice, and hash it out. I think that's the true centrist position.
Yeah, well, okay, that would be the true centrist position, but I don't think that there's any. I think that it's a rare freaking men's advocate who would say that women have hated and controlled and oppressed and mistreated men all through
human
history.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, they're like basically every conservative man that I talk to
doesn't
says
believe that at all.
No. Something went haywire in the 60s and 70s, right? If they're willing to go back even that far, because most of them are like, "Ooh, it was third wave feminists that really took things too far."
It was the 90s,
right? Yeah, it was the 90s, and I'm like, no, it was the 1850s,
even
right?
before,
Like, go look, right? Whenever you give women political power, there are going to be women who abuse it against men, right? Like when men have political power, they will abuse it, also mostly against men.
So, but
at least in terms of absolute outcomes.
The one group of dudes that actually believes that women have ruled, oppressed, and hated and subjugated men throughout all of human history. We need to bring them to the table, give them an equal say to that of feminists. And then it's true, like, nobody has more. Here's the thing. Nobody has more clout. Everybody has exactly their point of view, and that's it. And when we're in that position, then we can start doing, must both sides centrism. When it's actually a level playing field, and you got the dude who says, yeah, women have oppressed men throughout all of human history. Men will never be free of them. Therefore, we have to reduce women down to a population of about 10%, purely for breeding purposes. And also men can check them out from like a library if they want to have sex with them. This is actual feminist thought, by the way, guys.
Yeah.
So you gotta find that dude, give him exactly the same amount of clout, influence, reach, money as a feminist who say that shit, and then we can start talking about centrism and both sides. That's what I'm saying. It's like, yeah. But you know what? I'd be fine with that. Bring him onto the table. Bring the feminists on the table. Bring the male theorists who believe the opposite of feminists, except reversing the genders. Bring them to the table. Let's have all that discussion.
I think the best they could do, because I think that like the reason why some of these like figures that get associated with the manosphere or the red pill become sort of prominent is because there is, I think, either people or algorithms working to promote the most popular, but also like let's say despicable voices on the manosphere side. So guys like that are not popular with some of our audience, like Andrew Tate and Fresh and Fit. I think the reason why those guys get put forward is because they're the worst. They're the best examples of the worst parts of the manosphere, and even they are not nearly as bad as your average feminist. Like they're not nearly as bad. Like Andrew Tate is basically like trad now. He exploited people. You could say whatever. Who cares? But like he's not really a red pill thinker. Sorry, I've watched enough of his content to know that there's nothing going on there that is especially enlightening, in my opinion. And Fresh and Fit are basically like, you know, they basically adhere or they operate with women who could be considered the lowest common denominator in terms of their ability to, you know, think. And they get but like look, I don't mean this like to be mean to these women. I get it, because they are also some of the most attractive. So they're getting an idea of what the high end, I guess you could say, women are thinking, and that's got its use, but it's not the best example. You know, that'd be like Paul. Yeah,
they're dealing with the women who will fuck a guy because he drives a Bugatti.
Yeah, right. So, but my point is, those two examples are the best that the media can do to draw any parallels to your regular feminist academics, not even the radicals, just like a regular college professor that teaches gender studies in any university, and it's not even close. The disdain is not even close. So this is the best they can do. So I think that's worth pointing out. So that's why the centrism thing bothers me, because I think, you know what, I just think it's cowardice. It's just cowardice. Like, Chris Williamson knows where his bread is buttered. He doesn't want to rock the boat. If he's in any way in pursuit of truth, it's inevitable he's going to find himself where we are. Inevitable. Mm-hmm. Unless he basically continues to be, he was just describing that other woman as being tepid, and he saw the consequences of that. And now he's still like, well, how do I approach this? Well, I think you're going to have to. Like, you either care about the truth and you're going to move forward and it's going to take you wherever it takes you, or you're going to keep dancing on the fence like this. And I mean, like, you can do that if you want to, but the truth is, the value is, like, you just had this guy, Bryan Caplan, on. I mean, like, there are people who watch this that are probably getting red pilled right, like, as they saw this video. So there's no, I don't know. I guess you can't really get away from it. What?
I like Bryan Caplan. I don't think he's falling into the centrist. Well, here's the problem.
No. I don't think Bryan Caplan is doing that at all. I think that he's being very legit. I'm saying Chris Williamson is trying. It's like if Chris Williamson invited like somebody like Paul on, and Paul, and I don't think he ever will, but let's say he does eventually. If Paul goes on there and drops like 1 million like red pill bombs on the audience, Chris Williamson will back off and be like, whoa, we don't want we don't want crazy incel shootings happening because this is where it's going to lead to. It's not going to matter because his audience is going to be like, wait a minute, actually, I do know a guy that's been through a divorce like that. I do know a guy who's been falsely accused. I do know a guy who lost his kids. So what I'm saying is that Chris Williamson can pretend to be centrist to protect his channel, but he is not going to be able to escape the truth. And so what I'm saying is that this guy is a real big, hit of truth. I mean, after this, he had Louise Perry on, and I think he was trying to balance it out.
His testes are bifurcated. His testes are like completely separated. Yeah. One on one side of the fence, one on the other side of the fence. Yeah. And they're of roughly equal size.
Lift and separate.
And it's because he's sitting on wherever he thinks the acceptable fence is.
Yeah.
Right. Well, the fence moves, and I'm sorry. I have to just step away for a few minutes.
Okay. I have some super chows.
I have one dog who's shaking.
Yeah.
I have some super chows.
With his lipstick out.
Anyways.
So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No. Go deal with your dogs.
Let me read the super chows because I got like 3 at least. So, all right, I got one for $50. Thank you so much from an anonymous person. And they say, you guys often talk about newer men's issues content, but are too modest to mention that many of them also monetize. Oh, you're talking about other men's guys that monetize on female sexuality by inviting dolled up 304s, talking about their dating life. I mean, I don't know what you want us to do about that. Like, that's their business. People with a more profound perspective on gynocentrism, like you guys, Paul, and other ICMI speakers, never needed to do that. Nevertheless, kudos to Pearl for moving on to talking with the ICMI crowd. Anyways, keep up the great work you're doing. Looking forward to all your content, and especially Allison's book to inspire us and grow the community. Thank you, anonymous person, for the donation. Does that put us over?
Well, okay. No. It's a little bit complicated because guys have done some crazy shenanigans in the background. I wanted to say I appreciate that Pearl is talking to us, talking to people on this side. That gives big props to me from that. I know she's a gadfly. I know she likes kicking the hornet's nest, and I know that offends a lot of people. I actually feel for her. Because when you're told you can't do something, I'm the kind of person who's like, yeah, but now I really want to do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's like, God damn. Did you have to tell me no? I was just going to walk on by, but then you told me not to do this thing. And now I have to, just because you told me not to. Yep. And I'm sort of like, I get that. I get that feeling when you're watching a bunch of smug, self-righteous people, and you're like, I know I shouldn't pull that thread, but I really want to. Just because I know it's going to piss them off. I get it. I get that motivation. I don't know if it's the most productive thing in the world. I'm pretty sure I'm not the most productive person in the world either. So where can I judge? You know,
the channel that your talk is supposed to be uploaded to, that channel that Pearl runs. I think she said in an announcement. I think she said, I could be wrong, that she was going to be focusing on that channel and that her other stuff, because she said she's tired of like talking to not randoms, but like women on her old show that put her on the map. She said she's tired of talking about that stuff because it doesn't go anywhere, and it's like, yeah, you're right, yeah. So it seems like she's interested in like actually like making a difference.
Okay, so here's what's going on in the background of the fundraiser. All right, you have a bunch of super chows we need to go through. Oh, by the way, thank you for the shout out for my story. It is progressing. I have this recorded video that I did that I was going to put up on Wednesday. Then I was going to put it up on Thursday, but this thing kept extending, like our response to Chris Williamson, just sort of, it's like the silly snake that came out of the canister, like the Pringles.
The silly string or the
it's a snake.
Spring snake.
The spring snake in the Pringles can. Like this video has been like the ever expanding foam of videos. But I might put that out. Gives a little bit of an update of where I'm at with the story. And I might put it out on Sunday if you guys are interested. I know it went out and it went to a video that doesn't exist, but that's how I roll. I have to be a little bit esoteric and confusing, but it's all just incompetence. All right. So I want to thank Remote Ruby for putting in exactly $460, which doesn't put us over the top. It puts us with it like we need $10 more.
Well, you are the goat for that, my friend.
Goat in two ways. One, that pretty much filled up the rest of it, but just left a little bit just to troll. So we still have $10 left. I don't know if anybody wants to put us out of our misery. If you do, feedthebadger.com/support. I noticed that when I did a call out, all of you sort of rushed to put in super chows, which was interesting.
If you wanna get me to stop talking about my little boy's penis here, because he didn't have to pee. His lipstick was out, but he didn't have to pee. No, it goes out when he has to poo. And it reminds me of that tweet that I put out, because I was like,
Brian's expressions.
I have never owned a male dog, let alone an intact male dog. Is it normal that when pooing, they spring a boner and stare at you in a very awkward, creepy way?
Course. Yeah.
And a whole bunch of people replied, "Close the bathroom door." And I was like, no, it's when he's pooing.
Well, I do have an attacked male dog, and we usually take him to the bush to go poop, and he usually
you don't
away.
See.
No, we see him because we don't want him to go too far, but he's usually turned the other way, and I don't think... I mean, he used to be a lot more excitable, shall we say, when he was a little bit younger, but he seems to have grown out of that. Although he still has a cat who's his very special favorite friend.
Oh no, mine is like if he needs to poop, he's making awkward eye contact with me, unbroken. Okay. and there is like at least 3 inches of lipstick out of the tube. And I'm just like, what the hell?
Well, you just got a little pervert dog. That's all I can say, Karen.
Oh yeah, no, he is actually, because when she comes in from going out, he's got to sniff what she peed, and then lick it, and it's disgusting. And he waits until she's busy with her food. He's a sexual assaulter.
Oh.
Yeah, no. And it doesn't matter how much you yell at him about it. He'll still do it.
I'd say my dog is, except I'm pretty sure that's enthusiastic consent by the cat. Anyway.
I got some more super chows.
Yes.
I want to get through them.
Bryan. I can feel the horror just emanating. Maybe I'm speaking for you there, Bryan.
Well, this is why Borat is my husband's best friend. It's because they're both perverts.
Solid. So Nova Fan gives us $10 and says, I haven't heard any real news confirming this, but I heard recently from a MGTOW channel that uses text to speech that gyms are starting to lose customers because men are becoming risk averse to being falsely labeled a creep by gym thoughts and are now building their own home gyms. I say, keep it up.
I think that's true. Because he literally did have a trend on TikTok and Instagram of women in gyms who would they'd set up a camera while they were working out, and they'd work out so that people could watch them working out online later or maybe even live, right? And there would be a man in the gym who would actually watch them working out and admire their bodies. Yeah. And they'd be like, oh my God, I'm so offended. He's like such a sexual assaulter.
Yeah, there was this guy.
Because he didn't pay $5 for your exclusive content?
There was this guy who does, he was on TikTok, I think. His name is Joey Swole. We did a response video to Joey Swole once. Apparently he's been getting run through the ringer by the feminist media. Calling him the victim blamer and stuff. So
if you hold women to any standard, the feminists will come after you. If you even imply that women are doing something that could be potentially construed as very, very nasty, like
or antisocial
or women are doing something that's antisocial, like not allowing their kids to have access to their fathers, they will come after you. Because they are 100% against holding women to any kind of standard. That's misogyny. That's why their great icons are witches, who often were guys. Witches weren't the best people ever.
Yeah, no, they were sacrificing newborns all the time.
Yeah, there was some psychotic shit going on with witchcraft, and as far as I can tell, for the most part, they actually had court proceedings, and in some cases, if someone falsely accused a woman of witchcraft, they themselves would be persecuted for a false accusation. So there was some due process for witches, unlike rapists today, or alleged rapists today, or men who may have consensually showed their penis to a woman, and then she decided to allege that what consensual activity was unpleasant, therefore Me Too. Anyway, so it's like it's the history of witchcraft is a lot more complicated. I'd also want to point out that pagan societies didn't like witches. They killed them too. There is trials for witchcraft in ancient Rome.
Bring back witch hunts. I mean, but for witches, not for political opponents.
Not for Trump.
Yeah, not for political opponents, but for actual.
For us, we think it's ridiculous that people were charged with witchcraft. But during that time, when you have a belief that people's intentions matter, and you catch them with black magic paraphernalia, that would get you in trouble, right? And then wouldn't just get you in trouble with Christians. It's more like Christianity took over general society's antipathy towards witches. Nobody liked them. Nobody, not the pagans, not the Vikings. The Vikings were they didn't like male witches, let's say. Female
warlocks?
Female seeresses were very important in Viking society. Female ritual mistresses were very important. But the warlocks didn't like them. They often just burned them down, burned them all in their lodges or whatever. Mm-hmm. Okay, so this is not something that Christians invented. I don't know why I'm on this topic. What the fuck? How did this happen?
I don't know. Well, I don't know, but I want to get back to the super chats and stuff. So
yeah. Okay. Sorry,
I got a super
guys.
chat from Mr. Stupid, who gives us $5 and says, "I keep forgetting to put my nickname in there, think that was the last super chat. Might have been
It was
his.
the $50 one.
So thank you for that. And then
Mr.
I got
Stupid gave $50 and then put in another $5 because he forgot to put in his nom de
right. So it's
plume.
the same guy. That's kind of what I thought. And then the Great Indoors gives us $25 and says, fine, Allison, don't wear that latex catsuit. You would like a trash heap gnome anyway.
I would look like a trash heap gnome. Yeah.
Trash heap gnome.
Well, very glossy trash heap gnome.
Glossy?
I don't think so. Well, because latex is shiny.
And then we got a Rumble rant from NobaFan21 who says, trad cucks when feminists refuse to marry men sleep. Also trad cucks when men refuse to marry feminists. Panic. Gives $1. Thank you, NobaFan, for that. And there is Teal Deers in the chat too, so say hello to Teal Deers. He's been here for a bit, but he doesn't want, he's lurking. I think he always lurks. He just doesn't tell you very often.
After all of that, the upshot is we still have $10 on the fundraiser. $10.
Oh, we're close. We're close.
Yeah, we're really close. I'm not sure
if soonish. He's getting out of work.
Well, somebody needs to throw us a $10 bone.
What's really funny is you say that,
you
but
said
I'm pretty
bone.
sure
Now JoJo's moving. JoJo, go back to your bed.
They're going to put like I don't know, however much through Super Chow. I think that my dog is gone. I feel alone.
We should totally bring back the Inquisition.
Mine right here. So
sorry, we should go back. What?
We should totally bring back the Inquisition and hunt for heretics. I'm for this. I'm for this idea.
But what are we going to do with them?
Great again. Is that it? Make the Inquisition great again.
Yeah. Apparently.
Okay, let's do a bit more.
All right, let's play some more. So this next bit is called humiliating sexual harassment training. Okay.
About why we all get accused of being pickpockets. What was that?
Right. This was specifically a reference to the humiliation of mandatory training that happens here at universities a lot. So like imagine if there was some kind of mandatory pickpocket training where they bring in all the workers and they say, pickpocketing is wrong. Don't pickpocket others. Pickpocketing others means reaching into their pockets without permission and taking their stuff and then keeping it. Don't be a pickpocket. All right. And it's like, okay, why are you telling me this though? Like, I know all this already. This is all quite obvious. And yet, to me, this is very much what most kind of sensitivity training is like, what most of the training about, like internet security is like. They're telling you a bunch of totally obvious stuff. And again, why? Well, a lot of it is it really just seems to be to humiliate you, to say, look, we are going to talk to you like children, and you have to sit there and suck it up. Tough luck.
Oh, well.
No, it's because they assume you didn't.
These are struggle sessions, and they are psychological torture.
One at a time.
It's because they assume that as a man, you don't already know this. Because you are part of the patriarchy.
Yeah, actually, that's a really good point. Like what he's saying. I would say that internet security is probably something people do need to know. But the other stuff, because it's a little more esoteric, right?
Well, internet security, especially older people, like people who are like a little bit Luddite.
Don't give out your passwords on and like phone scams and stuff like that, right? He's right. And Bryan is right. Like the whole thing about telling men how to establish or accept boundaries, women's boundaries. Well, yes, men already know that. Like 95% of men, and actually probably 100% of men already know. Know that. It's very difficult to... The problem is that when you're an abusive person, your boundaries encompass everything, right? Like, if a person is chewing their gum too loudly and you're abusive, you'll be like, well, you deserve to die for that because you're offending my ears, right?
He had it coming.
He had it coming.
He only had himself to blame.
Exactly. So the problem is that if you give these universal standards where men have to abide by women's boundaries, well, there's not an insignificant number of women who are utterly abusive, narcissistic, or borderline, or don't know where their boundaries legitimately lie. So they will basically say, well, me punching you is you violating me. Okay? And
yeah, no, there's like 5% of
men.
men. There's 5% of men who don't respect women's boundaries, who arguably don't respect anybody's boundaries, right? Probably 5% of men, right, who just don't and can't and don't understand. They
I don't even think it's
or they don't care. They don't care. They know what the boundaries are, but they just don't care.
Mm-hmm. And
they're not allowed to get away with it. There's laws against that. They will be arrested eventually. They will be prosecuted eventually if they aggress on a woman. Not so much if they just aggress in general. But when you look at women, like, we're not allowed to say, okay, women, there are boundaries.
Yeah.
Right. We literally tell women there are no boundaries.
As soon as you hold women to a standard, the feminists come out like a bunch of furies and attempt to destroy you. As soon as you suggest that women might be making choices that have negative consequences, they come out. And you don't even have to suggest, oh yeah, it's women doing it. You just have to point out, oh yeah, these are the negative consequences of fatherlessness. And then everybody, because you're defying women the right to make a choice and have that choice's consequences be rendered invisible by society. Okay? But my point is, when you have these consent seminars or whatever the hell they are, they don't teach anyone anything that they don't already know or already refuse to acknowledge, right? They don't do anything to prevent sexual assault or sexual harassment. Well, they will stop groups of men who have no intent to harm women from engaging with them at all. So I guess they stop harassment that way. But they don't do anything because that's not what motivates, and that's not the reason why men sexually aggress against women. It's not a culture. Unless you want to say that the culture that causes it is our willful insistence and refusing to acknowledge male sexual victimization, especially by women. Okay, maybe that's part of the culture, and that contributes to it. Because if we did have all of those scientific interventions identifying boys who are at risk of becoming predators and giving them the assistance they need to overcome the damage that's been done to them, if we had done that, we could say. But, because we live in a culture that doesn't want to look at this scientifically, it wants to look at this ideologically through the feminist lens. Because we live in a culture that doesn't want to recognize male victimhood, we don't do that. So we don't reduce the rate of rape because we don't want to look at men as victims or men and boys as victims. So that's a cultural way that rape is promoted. But feminists are a big part of that. In fact, they're the biggest part of that. Because they actively discriminate against scientific interventions for those groups of men who are most at risk of being predators, because they defy their ideology in every single way, at every single step. So they would prefer to see women raped than have anybody question feminism. That is despicable, honestly. So they construct these seminars in which they do nothing but get money. Like, they promote an intervention. These are not just absurd. These are feminists directing the funds towards reducing the rate of rape. Everybody wants to do that, right? They direct those funds to their initiatives, their ideologically motivated initiatives that do nothing. That makes the problem worse.
Case in point.
They want to get money.
Okay, a book published in 2000. Called A Natural History of Rape, Biological Bases of Sexual Coercion, right? By Thornhill and Palmer, right? Those guys, they basically said, okay, there is a portion of the male population that is kind of biologically prone, right? But there are things that we could do, interventions. There are maybe ways that we could identify the behaviors in early childhood and intervene in a non-aggressive way, like not say lock them up into juvie or anything like that, but, like just change how we parent these and socialize these boys.
You change it is don't abuse them and don't rape them.
Yeah, okay, sure. But, okay, so there is a biological aspect to it. There is a heritable aspect to it, right? And then if you just intervene in early childhood to prevent all of the other ingredients from being added to the cake, right? Then
have been added to try to ameliorate the damage instead of telling these young men that rape is a gift.
Yeah. So and they got, oh my God, they just got so, like, they got canceled.
Okay,
they got canceled.
I just want to remind
for excusing rape. For excusing rape.
Remind everyone that feminists are promoting initiatives to so-called prevent rape that do nothing of the sort, but simply direct funds that could go to interventions that do reduce rape just to make money. That's fucking despicable.
Oh yeah, no, there was that one Canadian professor. She did a study where she was just like, okay, so what are some interventions that women on college campuses could use, right? To like you would give them training to make them aware of certain behavioral patterns that in men that they should avoid, right? And then certain behaviors that you can engage in. And one of these strategies to avoid being sexually assaulted was to clap in front of the guy's face. No. And then she looked at the outcomes after 1 year, and she found that there was a significant reduction in sexual assaults among the young women who had the training. Like there was a significant, there were significantly less sexual assaults among the women who'd had and employed the training. And what did the feminists say? Well, that's putting the onus on the woman. And it's like, oh, well, it's up to the woman to say no.
Well, not just that. Obviously, there's something worse than rape then. Worse than rape is holding women accountable or giving them or saying that they have agency. Like literally
saying that they should actually say a no in an assertive way.
They don't want something to happen. Like they have agency over the outcome of a situation. That is, to feminists, they would rather see every woman on earth raped than have anyone recognize that women
that no means no.
Yeah, or that women have the ability to stop it, that women have agency at all, and that they can take responsibility to affect an outcome that they want. Feminists would rather see every woman on the planet raped, multiply, gang raped, raped to death, than recognize that women have any responsibility whatsoever. It's a bit of a hyperbole on my part, but
no, but they don't want anyone, right? It's unfair that women feel like they can't walk alone at night.
Okay,
right?
I don't care.
And it's like, I don't care either.
Stop being raped? Or would you, like, here's the thing. What you're doing is ensuring that more women are raped. How can you embrace, as feminists, how can you embrace stuff you know will result in more female rapes? How can you embrace that and then turn around and say, we care so much about rape, give us money to stop it? Like, it's infuriating.
It's lock up all the men so that women don't have to adjust their behavior. And it's like, okay, well...
It's not even that. What's infuriating me, I know that's also infuriating, but what's really infuriating me is feminists use rape They use it to give themselves a self-righteous edge over other people. And yet feminists would rather see women be raped than question feminism or have women be told that they can take responsibility for themselves. But how can anybody hand the moral the moral high ground to feminists when they have these priorities? Oh yeah, we'd rather women be raped. Like, gosh, I mean, question feminists or see women raped? Of course we're going to choose women be raped. Like, fuck them. Let them endure the thing we say is the worst thing possible. Let them experience that horror just as long as feminism isn't questioned. What fucking priorities are those? And how can you call these people advocates of women? And incidentally, if you're a feminist listening to this, I don't owe feminists fucking all as a woman. Period.
Yeah, me neither.
A damn thing. And no woman owes feminism a damn thing. Okay, sorry. I got a little feisty. I apologize. I'm going to calm down now.
Are we ready?
Yes.
I got another super chow from a Norwegian again. Thank you, a Norwegian.
Was it for $9.99 just to
$5? He gives us $5 and says, "Time to join the Black Templars, Brian."
Burn the heretic, kill the mutants, purge the unclean.
All right, thank you, Fang. For
Okay,
that.
we still have
I'm sorry,
$10.
Norwegian, not Fang.
I feel like $10 is almost like it's trolling, like the people are now.
That's why I said, let me guess, it's $9.99.
Yeah.
Well, this is a super chow, right? It's not
a super chow. $10 on the fundraiser, guys. So feed the support. Just $10. It feels like this is almost a technicality, but I would like to get it because I'm a very superstitious person, and the idea of not making the fundraiser is a little bit like, I don't know. Like I said, I'm sort of superstitious.
All right, you want me to play more of the video? Let's play more of the video.
Some of it is for legal purposes, where if they get sued, they can say, we told them not to do it, right? As if the main reason people pickpocket is no one ever told them not to do it, or they don't understand what would constitute it. Although another part of it is ratcheting up the definition so that almost anything counts as pickpocketing, where it's like, well, you looked at what was in someone's pocket without their consent. That's a kind of pickpocketing. So I think that's also what's going on. And once you have your training set up, they do often start just having higher and higher standards. Now, I say this just to go and make fun of various training that you'll see, especially on college campuses, about sexual harassment. It's like, don't sleep with your students. Oh, I didn't know we weren't supposed to do that. Oh, thank you. Like, come on. Like, we all know this, right? The reason why people are doing it isn't because they aren't aware of the rules. The reason they're doing it is because they don't like the rules, and the rules are stopping them from doing what they want. So,
yeah.
Yep. And honestly, when you're talking about sexual violence, you're talking about a small minority of men. Like Karen was saying, there's genetic factors, and then there's environmental factors that create them. And if you want to stop their behavior, then you need to start recognizing, like, you can't change the genetic factors unless we want to go on some eugenics kick. So you have to change the behavioral factors, which means you got to, since nobody wants to stop women from raping kids, we got to recognize or notice those kids who have been sexually abused by women and give them interventions that help them overcome it. It's simple as that. You don't even have to do it with stigma. Like, you find the kids that are abused, they have severe emotional abuse, sexual abuse, whatever, and you help them overcome that, and you kick every fucking man who says rape is a gift in the face. That's something that really pisses me off. No offense, guys. I really think we need to start kicking those men in the face because they're dicks.
Well, like Cenk Uygur. Oh, yeah, no, I would have loved to have that teacher. She was really hot. When I was 13, I would have totally gone down for that.
Advocacy. This is in Minecraft, guys. Kick Cenk Uygur in the face in Minecraft.
Yeah. Well.
Whoa.
Give him a leather sole sandwich. All right.
Well, at least he finally came out and admitted that maybe circumcising babies was wrong.
Ugh, good.
So,
well, there's
next,
progress.
More video. Let's play a little more.
Yes.
And if it really an issue of something that's really confusing, be a different story. So maybe actually the internet security, at least you might think that that's more complicated. Although honestly, having gone through internet security training, I'll say that the stuff they train you on is so basic because honestly, they need to make a test that can be passed by the lowest IQ person in the organization. And therefore, it can't really be hard because otherwise they'd have to fire people over failing their IT test,
right?
Their IT training over
Makes
and over,
sense.
and they don't want to do that.
So one of the things that we're both fans of is agency, trying to give people a sense of.
Drum roll, please. We got the final $10.
Oh,
the great indoors put in $10.
Oh, that's so nice.
That's so nice. All right, thank you. So we have We've successfully funded another month of Honey Badger Radio. So go us. Hey,
Bryan, you should have played This isn't a lending library.
Oh, I don't.
Comic book down and get out, or I'll blow your heads off.
I don't have that sound. I just have thank you. Come again. Sorry.
You should have that one.
Go get that one, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I'm not feeling very charitable today.
Aw.
Yeah, no, I had to let my husband drive himself to work today. So I'm without a car because I'm pukey. I was scared of puking in the car.
Ugh. Okay, can we move on?
Yeah.
This is like my least favorite topic.
Vomit?
All right, are we playing more of this or?
Yes.
Well, it wasn't lumpy, Allison.
Personal agency, individual sovereignty. It seems to me, and I hadn't thought of these two words before, but it seems like antipathy and pity are, self-pity, pity for others. Antipathy and self-pity are probably about as close to solvents for agency as possible. Like, it will dissolve your ability to feel like an agentic individual.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this is very true. This is very true. And like, it's something I struggle with as well with the stuff that we talk about, because where's the line between recognizing problems and taking away someone's agency, right?
Yeah.
But of course, the thing is that another thing that I've noticed is that sometimes people will pretend they have more agency in order to deny that in order to justify not having any at all. Okay, so an example of that is an alcoholic who says, "I can quit anytime." Right?
Yeah.
Like they're saying, "Oh yeah, it's entirely within my control," because that means they don't have to get it into their control. If that makes sense.
Yes.
And then also there's women. This is something that I've seen with women. I don't normally see men do this. Who will be like, there was this one example. I think. I don't remember who was the one. It might have been Warren Farrell, actually. But he would be, or don't quote me on that, but there was a male psychologist who was working with women. Actually, you know what? It might be Tom Golden. But anyways, a male psychologist who was working with women. And he found that women would do things like, so for example, there was a woman who had an abusive partner and a son. And the abusive partner wasn't the father of the son, of course. So, but she would be like, I can't believe I let, or she would take responsibility for the abusive behavior of her partner. So she'd say, "Oh, it was my fault he was abusive." And the guy would say, "No, it's not your fault he was abusive." And the other women in the group would be saying, "Oh, it's not your fault he was abusive. Oh, is it not your fault? You couldn't do anything." And the male psychologist said, "Yeah, you're right. It's not your fault he was abusive, but it's your fault you kept your son in the situation for as long as you did."
Yeah.
And what you're doing is you are taking responsibility for something you know you aren't responsible for, in order to ignore responsibility for something you are responsible for. And this
Yeah.
is this is all the complexities that come into taking responsibility that I think about a lot. I'm glad Chris is sort of cogitating on it too. I wonder what Bryan has to say though.
That's a great point. I mean, yeah, because like what I like to tell people is imagine a person who has the absolute maximum reason to feel antipathy and self-pity. Like someone who was stabbed in the back and now they're paralyzed and they know the person who did it. You know, like, I don't know, it was like your ex-wife stabbed you in the back. Now you're paralyzed from the neck down for the rest of your life. So you have every reason to hate this person, every reason to feel sorry for yourself. And the question is, if you wanted to help this person, would you go to them and say, be full of antipathy, be full of self-pity? Like, of course not. You'd be trying to go and come up with some story to make them feel better. And it's like, well, okay, I understand why you would be overwhelmed with antipathy and self-pity, but you got to get past that, because if you're going to have any enjoyment out of life, if you're going to be able to salvage any part of what you're hoping for, you're going to have to go and focus on what you can do and what you can have now. And just being angry at the woman who did this to you and feeling sorry for poor you, though completely justified, is totally unconstructive.
Well, and there's another pitfall for this, because it's true. But what I've found is a lot of people will say this to somebody who's going through something rough. They'll say, well, you just can't dwell. And it's like, if you aren't going to actually help them overcome their problem, shut up. Like, if you're not going to sit there and give them the things they need, the support they need to actually start digging in, what you should just do is say, yeah, that's really rough, and leave it at that.
Yeah.
Like, just give them support, because if you're not going to help, don't start making demands, because that is a demand. When you say, oh, you should be, that's a demand.
Yeah.
You should be this thing that I'm more comfortable with. Well, that's a demand. Are you prepared to underwrite that demand with your attention and your work and your resources? Then don't make it. Like,
yeah, I agree with that. Like, there are some people out there who it's next to impossible to pull them out of their self-pity, and it's just way too much work for any healthy individual to do that. And it's like,
but you don't have to engage with those people, right?
Yeah, that's when you basically say, I am no longer engaging. That's not when you say, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. You just I mean, it's a really hard thing when you have someone who is like that, right? Like, who literally was, stabbed and abused and is crippled, and they have every right to feel self-pity, and they aren't ready to be told that, okay, you can do it, you can be who was it, the Superman guy, you can be
Reeves?
that Christopher Reeve, that you can be him, and make a life as a quadriplegic, and all of those things, right? It's a really, really difficult situation, and if you pull away from those people, right? My sister, she did home care for a long time, right? For people who were disabled, and she spent 10 years with this one family, every day going in, dealing with this quadriplegic man who had a wife and 2 kids, and he fell out of a duck blind when he was hunting and broke his neck, and was quadriplegic after that. And his wife, when their kids were grown, right, and moved out of the house, she said, okay, I'm done. I stuck with you this long for the sake of the kids, but I can't do it anymore. And And yeah, no, he committed suicide basically a week after she moved out. So it's like you do have to find like a balance of, there are people who depend on you, there are people who love you, there are people who like are looking forward to talking to you tomorrow, right? And putting a demand on someone that they have to be a certain way.
Yeah.
It's a really, really difficult thing when you have someone in that situation. And at the same time, it's hard to fault his wife because, you know, like he wasn't a peach to live with even before he got hurt. And she stayed with him. She might have divorced him 5 years earlier if he had been able-bodied, right? But he wasn't, so she stayed for the kids, and then she just said, "Okay, I'm done." And I don't know. I don't know. It's like the kind of pain that people go through, right? And then you look at the difference in approaches, right? So you have the hyper conservative approach, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, and you have the extreme leftist approach, which is like there are no straps on this person's boots,
unless you're a man, in which you are supposed to pull yourself up by your privilege straps.
Yeah, your privilege straps. Yeah,
check and feel guilty for.
Yeah, no, and it's just like I'm just like, okay, well, like I understand how difficult it is, right? But you do have to find a way to like tell people that life is still worth living. Even if you say, I'm not going to live it with you anymore. So it's just I don't know. It's
hard. Being human is hard.
It's really
hard. And I know.
Yeah, no, it's my family's been going through some shit, and it's like, or my husband's family, and it is really difficult. And I am like, he has one family member who died, and another family member who's moved away, and I'm just like, thank God that guy moved away, right, out of province. He's gone. We don't have to deal with him anymore. Good fucking luck to whoever has to deal with him where he lands, right? But it's not us, because it was really freaking difficult. And but it's like you still care about him. You still wish that he does okay. You still want him to do okay, but eventually you have to say, like, I've done as much as I can do. And when you have somebody who just like refuses to be helped, it's so freaking hard. It's so hard. So
okay.
All right. Now that I've vomited my emotions and my baggage all over the audience,
let's watch a little bit more, or should we call it?
Well, we made our goal. I gotta leave in like 10-ish minutes, so I can play
okay, let's
more.
just
whatever you want to do.
Oh, this is a big one. Look at that. Look at all that attention. Look at the lumps.
Oh my God. Right here?
No.
Self-pity to high agency, or this one, the demonization of having kids?
No, she's talking about directly after the spot.
Well, this is part of that little peak, but
let's just watch from where we are.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
What would you say then, given that we have an incredibly broad number of people who are wallowing in a low agency existence? What's your prescription philosophically or tactically or strategically for getting...
Blame women.
Chris Williamson does not mean women. He's saying people. He's being very specific. He's saying that there are men and women. Now I agree that no. That's what he's saying. Chris Williamson thinks this is a ping pong game. We've already established that. He thinks both sides. He thinks that there are men that essentially the self-pity and apathy that women or feminist women, and by extension most women, because they're affected by this, feel towards men is just as bad as the men responding to that evil propaganda. And it's a ping pong. That's what he thinks. I'm not getting away from the way Chris Williamson is framing this. That's what he's doing. That's why he says a low agency.
I know. It's like this. You're seeing an argument. Yeah, no, I got you. You're seeing an argument. A woman is saying you're to blame for everything to the man, and the man says you're saying I'm to blame for everything, and Chris is saying, oh my God, you're both equally bad.
Yeah, exactly. This is what's happening. This is important. So when he says this low agency environment, he's saying...
Or defending against an attack is equivalent to attacking in his mind.
Okay, yes.
Okay, let's keep going.
Someone from antipathy and self-pity into agency.
The movie What About Bob, actually, the lead psychologist in it has a book called Baby Steps about how someone who has problems needs to give up on the idea of solving them all overnight and instead just try to take small little steps of improvement. The character is mock-worthy in the movie, but I think it's totally sensible. If a person is having trouble with life, don't say fix everything overnight. Just say, all right, look, let's take some small steps and move from there. So that's what I would begin by doing.
Good about Peterson's message.
Clean your room.
Yeah, just clean a portion of your room if you can't clean your whole room, and then also give yourself a pat on the back about it, because a lot of people. This
is actually the interesting problem with this, though. I mean, I know that Bryan Caplan's speaking directly to Chris Williamson's question or statement, but Chris Williamson has reframed the statement to apply to men and women. And Bryan Caplan's response is really only going to be something that men are going to be expected to do, not women.
Yeah.
So this is the issue. So Bryan Caplan started by saying, here's why I don't want my daughter to become a feminist. These are all the issues, and two of those is self-pity and
antipathy.
Towards men.
So I see what he's doing.
And Chris Williamson is like, oh, that sounds like a problem that both sides have. What do you think we should do about this? And he's like, well, here are some small steps that can be taken. But you see, this standard that he's presenting, it won't be applied to women. Like, Chris Williamson's not going to say, ladies, you should do this before you hate men. He's just going to be like, well, if men do that enough, then maybe the women won't complain as much or something.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, somehow if men fix everything, women will complain about the fact that men are fixing everything.
Yeah.
No, they're not letting women have the opportunity to fix their own thing.
They're not. Yeah, they're somehow, if men, in Chris's mind, if men fix everything, women will stop complaining about men stopping them from giving the opportunity to fix it for themselves. It's like, no, that's not what's going to happen. But yeah, you're right, because this context is in the context of an entire framework in which, instead of taking responsibility for their life as it is, women offload it onto men, which is actually a very traditionalist proposition, I will say.
Yeah.
But so instead of his daughter, like, Chris is trying to move it away from a father's concern for his daughter to whatever Chris wants from this. And he wants to tell his daughter, avoid the pitfall of blaming men instead of taking responsibility for yourself. And the way that you would, you're right. He's blanding out his message.
I think Caplan is like trying to like say, like, he's speaking to the solutions from a universal perspective. Like, men and women could both do this, but that's not how it's gonna like pan out.
But what he should be responding to, and I'm guessing that he doesn't, is to say, well, in my daughter's case, and in the case of women, by extension, I would want them to defy the pressure to blame their lives on men And, after that, they have defied the pressure to blame their lives on men, to refocus everything on men's actions and men's agency and men's choices and men's whims and men's psychology and men's considerations and how men interact with each other and how men. Once women sort of stop doing that, then they can start taking some practical steps to focusing on what they can do in their lives instead of what men can do in their lives. And that's so funny because we all think that female empowerment is refocusing everything back on men and men's choices. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, he would probably say to his daughter, don't fall prey into blaming men or thinking that your life outcome is a result of men's choices because it's the result of yours. And that's empowerment. And yeah, you're right. I don't think he does say that, does he?
No, I don't think he does.
So Chris
I think
has
he just sort of
derailed his own damn interview.
Yeah, I don't think that this is intentional, but I think that that's where it ends up. It's like, you're
Good
talking
catch,
to somebody, there's some really important stuff you want to get to. The other person doesn't know what your objective is, and so they shift to something more broad, and then you get lost in the swamp and you end up making a broad statement that sounds nice, but it won't actually it's not we're not going to hold women to the standard that he's explaining. We're just not going to, unless someone directly says so. It's not going to happen. And even these really popular red pill guys are not doing that. There is just it's cowardice in my opinion. It's moral cowardice, and it's going to lead to more problems.
Okay, well, both the red pill and the feminist men do the same thing.
Yeah.
The red pill men say women can't help being evil. And the feminist men say women can't be anything but good. And
victims.
Both refuse to recognize that women make choices and those choices have consequences. Because
they do. They do. The red pill men do.
Well, not all
of them. And that's why they say women shouldn't have choices.
Okay.
Some of them.
Well, no, they basically say that women can't make any choice but what they do. And yeah, that's their excuse.
Well, yeah, no, which is why you need to curtail them by law and policy and the authority of the man in their life, whether that's the father or the brother or the husband or the son, right? The man must make the choices for her, right? And that's literally sort of the extreme red pill position is the man must manage the woman like he would manage a child.
And law is an ass.
Yeah, well, okay, so here's the thing is, okay, so if we are to look at women as children, which I think this is what you're getting at, Allison, right? Mm-hmm. Both sides, the red pill side and the feminist side, are both looking at women as children.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and they view women as having the intellectual and moral and agentic capacity of children.
Well, let me explain it another way.
And the level of responsibility and obligation of children. Okay, mm-hmm. They're both viewing women in the same way. Okay, feminist men and red pill men.
Mm-hmm.
You have red pill men saying, and that's why women need to have special rules, special constraints. They need to be curtailed. They need to not be allowed to make their own independent choices, right? All of those things for the benefit of their families and of society. They should not be allowed to vote. They should not be allowed to do this, that, the other. Okay? And the feminist men are saying, let the child rule the house.
Okay. And I wanted to say a couple things to that. First of all, it occurred to me that the feminist men think that women would be good except for men. And the red pill men think that women would be bad except for men. So essentially, they all reframe the situation back onto men's choices. But here's the issue. When you look at all of the societies that still have this idea of men in charge, there is a recognition that that's sort of a fiction by both sides, right?
Oh, of course.
So the women, what's actually happening is the women are choosing to control each other and control each other's behavior and moderate it for the good of the community.
Well,
That's
and they're
what's
also
actually
choosing
happening.
to control their men.
Yeah, but that's what actually is happening with these traditional societies. Okay? It is literally women are choosing to submit. And really it's women are choosing to trust men and men having their best interests at heart. Okay?
Well, women are also choosing to submit maybe in name only, or,
Let me just conclude my thought, all right? So we have this perception based on a basic lie, which is that in the past, somehow it was men making women to submit rather than women choosing to submit. Okay? And knowing that they could choose not to. So it was women's choice that constructed this, right? The red pill men think that choice was forced on women. The feminist men think that choice was forced on women. They both think that. They both just have different opinions on the outcome of that choice. And I'm saying it was never forced on women. Women chose it. Everything always was as a result of women's choice to be moral. Okay? We need to get back to that. The law is an ass. Okay, let's shall we just leave it there, or
I think we should leave it here.
I think
I gotta go get Lindsay.
do you get what I'm saying, Karen? Do you get what I'm saying?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
But I need to let another dog out. She doesn't have a lipstick to poke out.
Honestly, I think
to let me know she needs to poop, but I think she does.
When women take responsibility for things like community, because that's a really traditional situation, I think that there's an element that when you truly take responsibility for something and you truly have that weight on your shoulders, you're actually just sort of fine when men have responsibility for something. It's like, yeah, give me a break.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, God.
Good Lord,
yeah, no.
take it.
I got enough things to do.
I got enough. I think that women were like, when women were in traditional societies where women's work was critical, they were fine with ceding areas of responsibility to men for the simple fact that when you truly take responsibility, you know how exhausting it is.
Oh yeah, no. It was like, yeah, no, I already have enough shit to do. Yeah, so if you want to do this, do that, do the other, earn the money, whatever, right? Yeah, fill your boots.
And the thing is that the reason why people resist coming to this conclusion is because it feels like it's impossible to get women to take responsibility. Everybody knows this. Like the red pillars know this. The feminists know this. We all instinctively know that this feels like it's the most impossible task is to hold women to a standard, right? It feels impossible because women are just going to do what they want, right? And red pillars can say, well, we need to put these legal impositions back on women. Okay. That's a great fantasy. How?
Yeah, no, it's never going to happen. You're never going to be able to do that.
I mean, we can't even get equality. You're talking about let's give men superior legal position. Can we start with equality? Because we're really struggling over here in the men's issues sphere.
Yeah, no. Repeal 19 is like never going to happen.
Yeah, and if it did, it would be because a critical mass of women realized that it's beneficial to everybody to do it. Okay, so at that point, you got women taking responsibility. But the reason why everybody thinks this is the impossible thing is because it's impossible to make women do anything. It's easy to make men do stuff. That's why we constantly blame them. It's easy.
You don't have to hold them down and make them do it. You just have to make them feel a sense of social obligation.
And nobody's addressing this. Nobody's willing to.
For how long? But for how long? That's the thing. And this is I think what is really underpinning all of this hostility to the men's rights movement, right? All of this hostility to MGTOW, to incels, to everyone, all of these men's movements in their, rainbow variety, right, is that it was even the Red Stocking Manifestos, the feminist Red Stocking Manifestos objection to gay men is gay men weren't marrying up women. They were misogynistic because they wouldn't have sex with women and give them babies and marry them, right? They hated women. It wasn't that they wanted to have sex with men. It was that they hated women. And so it's basically like you have this situation where there's just no freaking way, okay, that anybody is ever going to actually not hold men responsible. They're never going to not hold men responsible, right? And that's the reality
of every civilization ever. They hold men responsible because it's easier. Because men are inclined to it. They want to hold themselves to a standard of accountability that's external. Go ahead.
And it's not just every civilization that's ever existed. It's every civilization that's ever succeeded or failed.
But it's harder. It's the impossible task is holding women accountable. That's why everybody, but I think us, doesn't want to talk about it. Like maybe some in the men's issues community are talking about it around it, but that's it. And when I look at history, the only time significant positive change occurs is when women are held accountable, and usually by each other. Okay? And then men also get in on the act and start holding women accountable. And that's when you see the big positive changes in human history. The big changes, like the big fundamental earthquake changes. So we have on one side, and this is why I was getting into what are the sides? We have on one side all of the people who are like, well, women don't make choices because we don't want to see that, because if we did, we have to recognize how difficult it is to hold women to account for those choices. So neither the red pill nor the blue pill wants to do that. I don't know what kind of pill you'd call this. You have to hold women accountable. And if you want to make the big kind of change that we need to know.
It's probably Millhouse.
If you want to make the big kind of change that, I think needs to happen, it's when we hold women accountable. How do we do that? That's the real question.
Well, we don't.
We need to ask.
We don't, because we can't. Can't stop, won't stop enabling women.
Okay, well, who is we? Because I hold women accountable. You hold women accountable.
We is society. Allison, we could argue this for an hour, but Bryan needs to go.
Okay. What do you mean?
And I have a dog that needs out.
Like, honestly, 100%, if we do not hold women accountable, we're losing fucking everything. Everything. That's obvious, right? Eventually, it's all going to crash. So, however the solution is, it is going to come from holding women accountable. And so everybody who isn't talking about that isn't talking about much, is what I'm getting at. So the two sides is really refuse to hold women accountable, will hold women accountable. And this dude, Bryan Caplan, is obviously on the will hold women accountable side. All right. So the blue pill and the red pill guys, like Chris is like, oh, these two sides. No, Chris, you got to move into our dimension and see what the real two sides is. Anyway. Okay, I'll shut up now.
So,
all right,
let's wrap it up.
We go now.
All right,
you go now.
Do the final thing. Say thank yous, all that stuff. Let's do it.
Times are changing.
Thank you, everybody. I'm gonna go barf now, and then I'm gonna let my dog out. I will see you later. Thank you for making.
No wonder you guys were talking over me. I was doing the things.
Oh, do the things.
Thank you.
You were muted.
I'm just saying thank you for not making me have to give up some of my children's stocking coal for this fundraiser. I really appreciate it. And
yeah, thank you all.
And I'll see you later when my stomach feels better. I think I'm gonna go barf.
Oh, was I part of that? With all of my talk?
No. It's just time.
Time.
It's just
time
to barf. So,
Okay.
good night.
Go attend to that. Thank you
Night,
for coming on,
Karen.
Karen. Thank you to everybody who supported us. Big shout out to Remote Ruby and the Great Indoors for putting in that last bit, as well as Kenneth G, I think it was. Kenneth S, who put in the $5. Thank you all for getting us to the end. My friend. And once again, if you want to send us a message after the show is over, you want to do a shout out, you want to comment on anything, you want to tell me I'm an idiot, which sometimes you guys seem to enjoy. So feedthebadger.com/justthetip to comment on anything that you've heard on this show. Just to send us word that we're not screaming into the void completely, that there are other barnacles attached to the outer edge of the void. I just love Brian's expression. Just what the fuck?
Language.
Anyway, feedthebadger.com/justthetip to send us those super chows. Okay, and we'll talk about whatever you send at the next relevant show. All right, back to you, Brian.
All right. Well, if you guys like this video, please hit like. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Hit the bell for notifications. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you guys think about what we discussed in the show today. You can find a link to the full interview in the description. And please, please, please share this video because sharing is caring. Jojo is on the move. He knows it's almost time for him to eat. Thank you guys so much for coming on today's episode of the Rantzerker. Thank you so much for your support. And we'll talk to you all in the next one.
Men's rights activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.